right? I think I was struggling forming my question last time. You know, you probably cannot see the dislikes under videos on YouTube. Have you noticed? Yeah. So
No.
what do you think about that? Do you think it should be like that in terms of, for consumers, so that we cannot see how
Yes.
many people? Yeah. You think it's
Yes.
fair?
I think so. I think we shouldn't see likes and dislikes because people love to join the crowd. So if people see that a lot of people have disliked the video, there's a lot of people, you know, that'll just hit dislike just because everybody else is fucking doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Human
sure.
beings are generally like that. And, you know, that's just the way people are. And if there's a ton of people that are liking something, you know, then there's a good chance that a lot of other people will just like it.
Where do you think YouTube is going for you as for a person involved in IT? How do you see YouTube sort of evolving as a platform in the future? Where do you think it will end up?
I think a lot of things are going to change with this new artificial intelligence software that's coming out. How it's going to change, I'm really not sure. And actually, like I used to have a website. It was pctechtrends.com, and essentially what I was doing, it was an IT website, and it was trying to answer people's Google searches. And essentially, you just write you write blogs about different IT related stuff. I would do some reviews on CPUs and whatnot. And I've actually decided to discontinue that website because now I put a lot of work into it for the first year and a lot of articles and stuff, but there was only really 3 pages out of like probably 50 that were getting a lot of.
And were those articles written by you?
What's that?
What were those articles written by you?
Written by me, yeah, 100% by me. Yeah, I didn't enter in business with anybody else. It was just all of my writings.
Interesting.
But I'd leveraged my IT background to do reviews, to do comparisons, and like for example, one of the pages that gained a lot of attraction was I looked at whether an Intel Xeon processor is good for gaming or not. Now, an Intel Xeon processor is typically seen in servers and stuff like that. They're really, really expensive. So most consumers won't buy them just because they're so expensive. However, over time, businesses will sell off their servers that they're no longer using after they upgrade, and they all come with Xeon processors now. These processors have really powerful CPUs in them, so you know you can buy them pretty cheaply on eBay, and you know you toss in a graphics card, and it actually makes a really good gaming computer.
Wow. So you can purchase them now, right?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always been around.
Interesting.
And I think a lot of people don't even really know of their existence and things like that. But you can have a really powerful, you know, machine, gaming computer by just buying a retired server and installing a GPU. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit
that's fine. That's
here, but
still on point. I think it's still on point. So with that site that you ran in the past, I would imagine how sites work on Google with my primitive base of knowledge is somehow similar to how videos work on YouTube. There must be something catchy to the site, right? And then it's one of the ultimate purposes is to attract attention, right? Yeah.
So I put on there as the main title for the website, as my H1 title is what we call it. I think I put like, is an Intel Xeon good for gaming in 2021 / 2022? And then it actually, it blew up. It got pretty big. You know, like one of my, that article, if you Google searched Intel Xeon gaming in Google, it was like, I think the third, the third website down, which is pretty incredible considering I'm a one-man developer here. So it was pretty awesome and it was pretty extraordinary. But anyways, going back to your original question, I have decided to discontinue that because with all this artificial intelligence, you know, there's chatgpt, whatever.
I was just going to bring that up. I used it a bunch of days ago.
You know, Microsoft rolled out their own called OpenAI, but with Bing. all that is going to replace everything.
Wasn't
You
there
know what I
some
mean?
sort of a
So,
creepy new piece of news about that? What is that Microsoft's one called? What do you call it?
open AI.
Open AI. Wasn't that some kind of a creepy news that somebody asked something that open source and some crazy answer ensued or something like that?
Yeah, it was yesterday. I seen this in the news as well. It got kind of dark like this. I don't even, I just seen a little bit in the news. I didn't see, I didn't actually read this. I just seen like the heading in the news, and in CTV News, they just touched upon it for a brief, maybe like 5 minutes or something. But I don't even know what the guy Google searched, but Bing came back with some kind of answer that he's unhappy in his relationship or something like that, and unhappy in his marriage. And it's kind of funny. And some people are making a big deal about it, but I'm like, what's the
Yeah,
big deal? I think it's still incredible. You know what? Maybe the guy is Google searching way too much porn.
yeah.
Maybe the
So yeah,
artificial
yeah, yeah.
intelligence,
So
seeing that
yo,
he's,
bro, chill,
you know what I
right?
mean? Like, seeing that he's like, like, I don't know, Google searching big black booty or something like that, and
Yeah,
then
yeah. Hey, do you
and then the
remember you're still
AI,
married, right?
yeah, and
Just
the
to
AI
remind you.
sees that maybe these searches are not, I don't know.
Yeah. So this, what is the first one called? GPT or GTP? First of all, do you know what it stands for? GP. What is the abbreviation? What does it stand for? Like
Um,
some kind of
I
whatever.
can't remember, but
Yeah.
I'm so sure that Google will tell
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Chat, whatever.
Um,
It's fairly new thing, isn't it? Right? It's been around fairly short period of time. Yeah.
yeah,
Found it.
um, yeah. I can't find the
No,
acronym
well, not that
right
it
off the
matters.
bat, but
So it was introduced to Ukraine basically either yesterday or day before yesterday. And myself, I made a video, and by far it's probably the most trending, if I can say it, video on my channel, which gained over 200 views, which is a big deal for me because I managed to use some sort of a demo version of that ChatGPT,
okay,
which is like a browser extension in Google Chrome, and it gives you 11 free questions, basically, like attempts. And surely first
okay,
three were
yep.
just godlessly wasted by me. I asked some horseshit, but I felt like, so tell me this. Do you think copywriters are pretty much done after ChatGPT is around? Like, will those guys have to qualify for something else?
No, I don't think that's
Yeah.
over. I don't think so. There's certain things that will still require human interaction, and human copyright writers verification. Really, you know what I mean. Nobody's going to put their business, in the hands of
Dependent
artificial
on that system.
intelligence, especially with certain things that's a very important piece of information that you need for any kind of business. So I don't think so. There will be certain things that will be replaced, like, for example, bloggers. And essentially, like, what I was doing with my website was blogging, really. And those days are going to be done, unfortunately. And it's unfortunate because there is some people that make a significant amount of their income, some people, their sole income just from blogging. But I really do believe that those days are done, just because, these, especially with OpenAI, Microsoft's Bing AI, the artificial intelligence is basically going to tell them what they need to hear. Whereas in the past, you'd Google search something and you would have like kind of like a small preview of what it is, but you would then click the article, and clicking the article is how bloggers get monetization. If nobody clicks on the website, they wouldn't make a cent. And because essentially this Bing's Open AI is giving you the answer, I think a lot of people aren't going to click the websites
And
anymore.
what are people even using those services right now for? It feels like they are. I think it's fair to say that they are still underdeveloped. I think there's still
Yes,
big
they're
way to
still
go
they're
for
still
them.
being developed. Yeah, and the thing is, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think ChatGPT, they were the first ones that kind of like really unveiled to the world that this was in existence. And then after that, then it was Google and Microsoft both had their own kind of launches. From what I understand, Google's launch actually kind of flopped and it didn't do so well, and they
Really?
lost geez, they lost a ton of cash right off the bat. But Microsoft's OpenAI looks extremely promising because they're implementing it with their Bing search engine, and it actually looks quite good. It's quite impressive.
ChatGPT can also be implemented in the Google search field, as far as I can remember, but again, as an extension.
Okay. I don't really know much about it, to be honest.
Yeah, just like an extension, and even that doesn't really look too reliable. It looks like a raw version of some sort of app, like a very fast version of an app. Yeah, that's interesting. So what do you think currently people use it? Do you think lots of people are using it actively right now for their business purposes?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Still like a toy right now, right? More for fun, like entertainment.
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I think it's still very much in beta testing, so I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I don't think it's ready to roll it for any kind of business for professional purposes.
Yeah. Like for big volume, right? Because it's like, it's gonna make a cover letter. It can make some sort of resume, maybe some description. Give you lots of those answers are they still feel like they've just been taken from a simple Google search, right? Yeah. Now, and if you want to ask something really fun, there's censorship. And by fun, I don't mean like something, vulgar or provocative or something like that, but there are still certain topics. But that thing is bound to develop, right? And bound to
absolutely. People are going to throw money at it. Investors are going to throw billions and billions of dollars into it. Because Google didn't do so good, probably not so much with them. But again, it's Google. Google has billions of dollars of their own cash to dump into it. But, same with Microsoft. But it's hard to say. Right now, I do think that. Wait a second. It says here, ChatGPT is a chatbot developed by OpenAI. OpenAI I thought it was. My understanding that
probably Microsoft is differently called, right?
No, I thought that Bing was called OpenAI or something. I could be all mixed up.
Yeah. Well, it's not like we experts or anything. Have you personally used it?
No, I haven't actually.
Yeah.
No.
Man, I mean, I don't know. I was asking some straight up dumb questions when I got my hands to that thing. I asked to write a poem, including my name. It wrote something very sad and lethargic, as if I've died. Some shit like that. Yeah. Okay, I asked it to write a rap about me in style of Eminem. That was pretty close, honestly. That's what surprised me.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't see lots of application.
I think it'll be interesting when we start seeing it in people's homes. Like, do you know what a Google Mini or Google Home is?
Yeah, like those smart systems, right?
Yeah. So I have a Google Home upstairs, and there have been times we'd be having a party, get together, or something like that, and we'll just kind of like fuck around with it, and we'll ask it stupid questions, and sometimes the answers that it comes back with are pretty clever and pretty funny. It's entertaining, so it'll be entertaining when we see devices like that, like in people's homes, and we just start asking it stupid questions. Like, it'll be interesting.
Have you ever had that smart system by Google give you any sort of answer that is unlikely to be found simply via Google search? Has it ever answered anyhow differently than what you would normally find on Google?
Yeah. Really? So a lot of the stuff, like, for example, if it doesn't know the answer, sometimes it'll come back with like a funny but clever answer. I don't know, like if you ask it, if you say, "Hey Google, am I beautiful?" or something like that.
Yeah, it will give you some sarcastic answer.
It'll give you some sort of answer. Or if I Google that right now in a Google search engine, it'll probably return me a song that says, "Are you beautiful?" or something. It'll probably give me some kind of actual result. Or you can say like, "Do you love me?" and up the Google Home will actually, it'll probably tell you that it does love you. It'll say something funny.
Tricky bastard.
But, a Google search engine will probably, again, just return back a song.
Yeah, Google search engine doesn't take no bullshit, right? It's straight to business, exactly. Right? Like, what are you talking about? Love me, right? Here's an article of 5 traits of self-loathing or something like that, right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's interesting. I was thinking about probably in the near future, we are quite likely to see some sort of devices that will, but not like Google Home. I was thinking about like humanoids It's probably coming. There will definitely be some sick bastards who will design hot chicks that will be having
Oh,
this
absolutely.
ChatGPT in the head, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Crazy. There's a lot of market for that, obviously.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean,
That's
look
it.
at, people already buy these like sex dolls,
And they don't even
that
talk,
look,
I imagine, right? Like
oh,
that's crazy.
exactly. I mean, to my knowledge.
They might
But
occasionally, right?
imagine like once they can start talking, and especially if
Oh
they can
man,
start walking,
no, that's
people
too
will
much.
divorce,
I don't need my
people will
sex
divorce
toy
their
to talk.
wives.
You know, that's too much. I don't need that bitch to talk. That's too much for me.
Like
Wow.
people will get divorced because all of a sudden they can
Yep.
buy,
Mhm.
their ideal girlfriend or wife. It's going to like exactly whatever they
Man,
like.
thinking about that makes me feel that we're done. We either have to somehow merge with the technology, which we are. Don't you think we're all already on the way there? Like we're partly some sort of symbiote, right? Like look at these wearable
Oh
devices
yeah.
that measures a heartbeat and stuff, right?
Oh, like
And
one of these,
phones.
yeah.
Yep, yep, yeah. And phones always with us, and it knows everything about us. And this corporations. So holy shit, that's creepy to think about it.
Yeah.
It's really.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? I might have asked you. I've asked somebody that question about the movie with Johnny Depp when his mind was totally uploaded in the computer network. I think Transcendence or something like that was from 2013 or something. The guy died, but he was so smart he had managed to upload himself in a computer. So the
I don't
bastard
think
lived in
so.
the network. Can you
No,
imagine?
I don't think so. I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah. Black Mirror.
Interesting.
Have you messed with Black Mirror? Never.
No,
Oh,
no,
I
I don't
think
even
you're
know
too
what this
busy.
is.
Really? Oh, that's a creepy
Yeah.
TV show. It will for a tech savvy person, it might be quite amazing because this is exactly about this. It's about this sick future of technology and what it will do to us. And some episodes are just straight up. It gives me paranoia because it's so well done and creepy at the
Hmm.
same time. Really good.
Yeah.
Really good. Well, I would imagine not as creepy as flying fuckery above us, right? What's up with that thing? You've been doing a nice job explaining that thing to me. I don't think I'm educated enough to understand. So,
It's actually kind of funny
yeah.
and embarrassing at the same time. So it was first reported that there was an object. Actually, really, it wasn't released. It was all secret information until about like 5 days after it was discovered that it
Mm.
was across the United States. But I think they it was initially picked up off the coast of Alaska or something like that, and it was this massive balloon, and it was detected, from my understanding, on a Monday, and then on a Tuesday, President Biden basically gave the order, shoot it down whenever safely possible. But by the time that he gave the order, it was already over Alaska, and then it entered Canadian airspace and came over, our province of British Columbia, which is off to the west, and
And
then
how big
re-entered.
was that in terms of like
It's
some
huge.
context?
It was
Really?
massive. So, so there was a huge balloon, and then there was a structure below the balloon, and the structure itself, it looked like it was a satellite, um, but it was as long as 3 school buses.
Holy
So
shit.
it
No
was it
way.
was huge. It was massive.
Whoa.
So that's the reason why they didn't want to blow it out of the sky
Oh,
when it was
yeah.
above, our country, because they don't know exactly where it's going to fall. And I mean, like, it's remember, it's higher than the altitude that commercial planes fly. So at that altitude, you could drop a penny, and if a penny hit a human, it'd be like a bullet. You know what I mean? It
It's
would
not
kill
like
you.
3 school buses hit you every day, right?
Yeah, and this is a
Oh.
massive structure that was, I would imagine, was
So
significantly heavy.
I imagine it was not visible to the human eye, right?
Not to my, I don't know. To be
Yeah.
honest, I wouldn't think so.
But it could
Um,
be, right? Like it could be.
Now, maybe I'm not really sure.
But they
Yeah.
spotted it somehow with some air defense systems, I imagine, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, they spotted it before it, before it went overland. But there was, I guess, some debate on what they should do with it, because they didn't even know exactly what it was. But eventually, the Chinese did own up to it and said that yes, it does belong to the Chinese. But they said it's basically used to study the weather.
Oh, come on.
However, it just so happened to fly over some nuclear sites in the United States. What a coincidence.
That's
So, like,
insane.
come
That's
on, man.
insane.
And
Wow.
another, from my understanding as well, like, one of the reasons why they didn't think that it was such a threat is because it can't see anything that satellites can't already see. So yeah, even though it would have seen everything at this nuclear site and other sensitive sites across the United States, but I mean, satellites can do the same thing. So
So, to the American government, they did not see a particular reason to worry about it, at least initially, right?
exactly, yeah, because it didn't have any kind of weapons on it. If it did have weapons on it, yeah, they wouldn't care where it was. They would have blew it, even if it was probably over our airspace. They would have blew it out of
Yeah.
the sky. They wouldn't take any chances. But because it didn't seem to pose any kind of threat. It just looked like really a surveillance aircraft, and they figured that it couldn't see anything more than Chinese satellites couldn't already see. Which,
Was
I mean,
there?
it
That
makes
would be
it
really
makes sense.
crazy if there was some sort of Chinese logos printed on it. That would be so obvious, right? But no, nothing of that kind, I imagine. Now, so let me
I
ask you,
don't know.
why hadn't it been spotted previously? How long had it been up there? Do you know anything about that? Like, how come they
No.
spotted it when they spotted it and not earlier?
So, I mean, they monitor all the airspace, and they did see it
Yeah,
off the coast of Alaska. So they did spot it before it entered,
they just
over
it
Alaska.
wasn't their
But again,
concern,
like,
right?
so, and it's really, the organization is NORAD, which NORAD is an organization that is involved in both the Royal Canadian Air Force and the U.S. Air Force, and it's their responsibility to monitor the skies all around the United States and Canada and detect any kind of intrusions. Yeah, it does seem like there was a little bit of a delay. Like, they didn't see it until it was pretty close to getting over Alaska. Why? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what their capabilities are, and we'll actually never really know that. All that would be very secretive information. So that's all classified info. I'm not really sure.
Do you think that the governments, those top people responsible for those literally UFO, because that's what it appears to be, right? Do you think they even have some kind of a protocol if an unidentified object appears in the sky? Do you know? Do they know immediately what to do? You think? You think they
I'm
don't?
going to say they probably don't. The
Yeah,
reason for
yeah.
that is, all of a sudden, then all these balloons, it looked like all these balloons started popping up all over North
That's
America. So
crazy.
then there was three more that were found, and they just blew them out of the sky right away. Well, it turns out, like a week later, they found out, like, after investigating and stuff, they're like, oh, you know what? It looks like they were all weather balloons. So
That's crazy.
yeah,
Wow. But
so
so
they,
they
they
were
just
indeed Chinese weather balloons, right? That were just studying the weather. That's exactly what had happened to
no,
be.
no, no. So the first one was a Chinese weather balloon.
Uh-huh.
The other three were local balloons. So
Really?
owned and run. I
Like
mean,
some private
nobody
companies?
has owned up to it. So,
Yeah.
and they
I,
didn't even say that this is 100% it. They just said that, and both Canadian and American officials have stopped the search for a lot of these balloons because, it was President Biden released a statement yesterday or the day before yesterday, and basically just said that, it's a high probability that these are weather balloons, not Chinese weather
oh.
balloons, but, so from my understanding, it sounded like it was like local weather companies that essentially, had them up there, and every, even like, I work, I work on the base, and I work close to this meteorology center, and they throw up a balloon every single day to, get information on the weather, and they basically report that to the Air Force so they can determine whether it's okay to fly today or not, something like that. But anyways,
Yeah.
so it's essentially, from what it sounds like, it was balloons like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if, some of those companies, as soon as it was shot down, they probably knew it was their balloon, but they were probably like, oh shit,
Why would they keep
I don't want to
silent?
say anything because, for all we know,
Yeah.
I don't know, the
Sure.
Canadian I guess it would have been the Americans, U.S. Air Force might, charge these companies for the bill or something. I don't
I
really know,
think
but
so. Yeah.
probably not. But
But doesn't that sound a little bit shady to you? A bit suspicious? How nobody stepped up to own those balloons? And also, besides that, did you say that that was the latest Biden's statement that it's a higher probability that these are. Is that exactly how he said, higher probability? That doesn't sound like a ironclad confirmation, does it?
It was an ironclad
Yeah.
confirmation.
Shit,
No, so
man. I
yeah,
don't know
so there
about
really
that.
there's no, at this point there's probably no way of knowing. But I mean, the thing is, the Chinese admitted to owning the first one, but they didn't admit to anything else. And the other ones, and with the Chinese balloon, it was huge, so it was easy to find. And remember, like, this one was shot down over the Atlantic Ocean, the Chinese balloon, and they were able to recover it from the ocean. But these other ones were shot down over, like, one was over Lake Huron, which is a lake, and they couldn't recover it from a lake. I mean, it's a big lake, but still. So, but I mean, the thing is, like, these weather balloons are generally pretty small. So,
And they claimed that they couldn't get it from under the water.
they didn't say anything about that. They didn't say why they couldn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah.
Did
So,
you
no,
personally, for a fraction of a second, believe that we're being invaded by some, fucks from another planet?
no,
No,
not at all.
never
Not for a
bought
second.
it, right? Not even for a
No.
second. It's
No.
too.
No.
Wow. So with you, it's like too far ahead of your spectrum of probability, right? You don't even
Oh yeah,
accept it.
absolutely. Yeah, I know. I seen some headings where people were pointing to, like, that it could be aliens, it could be UFOs and stuff like this, and it's amusing. But oh yeah, there was never for a second that I thought it was aliens. That'd be quite interesting. That'd be some shit right there.
Oh.
The world's on the verge of World War III. All of a sudden, we become invaded by aliens.
And these motherfuckers just cruising up there, right? They ain't even using no rapid technology, right?
That's right.
Nothing too speedy. They're just
But,
chilling up there.
it would be funny if, for example, it was aliens, extraterrestrial, life forms, and they just sent some balloons down to try to communicate with us, and then all of a sudden the Americans just blew them all out of the sky.
Oh yeah, well, what they would expect, of course,
the American way.
So yeah, and how do you go about that criticism? That a lot of people express that Americans spent so much money, because I would imagine the cost of the shot, or what did they activate those fighter jets, right, to take those down, and that was pretty costly and pricey. So a lot of people kind of criticize them.
It was Canadian and American fighter jets.
Yeah,
it was both. And the one that was shot over Lake Huron, you can look up in the sky and it looks like there's 3 or 4 fighter jets kind of like circling, orbiting the area.
Really?
It just so happened ended up being an American, that shot it down.
Right.
Probably the American fighter, or probably the Canadian fighter pilot is waiting for authorization from higher to, like, pull the trigger, but the Americans like, fuck this, I'm shooting it down.
Yeah, for sure. Really impatiently, right? Triggering. Yeah. Interesting. And then those things, they just dropped in the water, right? They never hit.
Yeah, never recovered.
Oh man, I don't know about that. I have a couple of days ago, I heard that we had this raid alert went off. I was not at home at that moment. I was in Kiev, and I read the news in the local channel that said that unidentified objects were spotted, and they were spotted like literally above my house, in the exact region above my house. And I felt kind of disappointed. I felt regretful that I'm not at home. Maybe I could spot some shit like that. So yeah, there was the air alert that went off. But the current articles here that have been arising say that it was sent by Russians to either distract the attention or to exhaust those air defense systems, because obviously a shot is, it costs, right? It costs efforts and it costs money. So they could be sending something minuscule and, simple, that doesn't pose any threat, just to exhaust those systems.
You know what? It could also be like something like this. This Chinese air balloon was so high up in the air that surface to air assets, to my knowledge, are not able to intercept it because it's so high up in the air. I don't think their radars can see that high. That's why, a fighter jet is used to blow this thing out of the air. So, I mean, it very well, could be something like that. Maybe it could have been a Russian balloon or some kind of Russian object that's just simply doing surveillance.
And will anybody be responsible afterwards for sending those balloons? Since the Chinese one is shut down, is China anyhow to be responsible for that?
What can you do,
Yeah, yeah,
really?
yeah. That's the
You know what I
problem with
mean?
those
You
countries, right?
can, you can impose sanctions,
Uh,
but our relationship with China is pretty strained as it is, and it has been for some time. Ever since the relationship with China became really strained. I mean, as far as Canada goes, when we arrested the an executive from Huawei. You know the company Huawei.
sure, yes.
So there was,
And there was
there
a
was some,
big stink in America about
yeah,
that.
there were some findings that Huawei was doing business with an Iranian company. And we actually have current sanctions against the Iranian government. So, nobody is allowed to do business with it. The thing is, it was actually American officials that put out the arrest warrant for her. And actually, she was the daughter of, I think, the CEO of Huawei or something like that. So it was very personal for the company of Huawei. Anyway, so the United States issued an arrest warrant for her. Now, we are very close friends to the United States. So the FBI called the RCMP, which is our federal police, and asked us to essentially apprehend, this executive of Huawei. So I think she was trying to leave somewhere in BC. It might have been Vancouver when she was arrested, and the RCMP arrested her and whatnot.
Wow.
And, she went to court. And I mean, we treated her very good. She was actually on house arrest. So she was just on house arrest in this huge mansion that she owns on, somewhere in BC. But, our legal process is very
Soft, acceptable, right?
not soft. Essentially, like, for her to be charged, first she has to be extradited to the United States because the Canadian government isn't charging her. It's the U.S. government that's going to charge her. So we had to extradite her to the United States before she can be charged. So her lawyers were fighting for that extradition. Fighting, against the Canadian government for the extradition and fighting against the American government for these charges. I don't really know much about like the charges themselves, but anyways, that is how when things started to go downhill from there. After that happened, then the Chinese government arrested 2 Canadians in China and claimed that they were spies for the Canadian government. And geez, I can't remember how long they were detained for, but they were detained for a long time.
Was it bad for
Actually,
them?
I think they were even arrested. Eventually, people common refer to them as the 2 Michaels because they were both named Michael.
Damn.
But anyways, later on down the road, they were eventually both released, and the U.S. did drop the charges for this executive, and she was released, went back to China, and so it all did end. But I mean, like, after that, that's when things kind of started to go downhill for both really
The
essentially U.S., Canada, and Russia. Or sorry,
China.
China.
Wasn't there also, and by also I mean a couple of years ago, this huge scandal about these Huawei phones having some sort of Chinese spying elements in them, right? That was gathering information.
Yep. Yeah. So, and it's kind of unfortunate because, these, Huawei, it looks like that it is a really great tech company.
It's been a while.
It looks like
it's been around for a while, right?
Yeah, it looks like they make really good phones, really good laptops, really good computers, and they look really promising. I've never used one, but yeah, like here in North America, they were trying to ban these products because they were saying that, like, really, essentially, China could take over the company, and if, for example, 50% or whatever percentage of Americans and Canadians, had these devices that were Huawei, then the Chinese government could spy on us. So that's what the fear was. So I can't remember what they did, if they made them like illegal or something, but you don't really see them. You don't see them around anymore. I don't know anybody that has one.
Yeah, I don't
But
think
I mean,
you do.
when I was looking at them, like, say, online, it looked very similar to the MacBook Pro or something like the computer. It looked like a very high quality product, and it did look quite promising. Maybe it was a good,
Here in
product. I'm
terms
not
of
really sure.
market for these Android phones, we've got two big companies other than iPhone and Samsung. Obviously, it's Xiaomi. You might have heard about this title, right? I think it's also Chinese, or Xiaomi. I don't know how to. I think Xiaomi, and this Huawei. And Xiaomi and Huawei, they seem to be quite competitive with each other. And I would probably opt for Xiaomi, because Xiaomi is a relevantly new brand, and they've already been kind of rocking, while Huawei, they've been at the market for a while, and they kind of, so it's interesting. But it's not like users in Canada and the United States, it's not like they do not willingly put out all their information on those apps developed by Chinese. What do you think about Chinese's sort of penetration of the market legally in terms of TikTok? TikTok was developed in China, wasn't it? Right? And
yes,
so,
TikTok is owned by Chinese. Yeah.
Don't you think do you believe that could be used politically as a tool to gather information?
I don't know, to be honest. I really don't know. I know, like, the West and, really our news agencies and our governments tell us that the Chinese are bad. They tell us that, the Chinese can spy on us if we use Huawei, if we use TikTok, if we use all these other things. There's a lot of people that use TikTok anyways. But, and I guess realistically, the Chinese could overtake those companies, and, because just the way that the Chinese government is, they could force those companies to give them information about American and Canadian users or Western users around the world. Do they do that? I'm not really sure. Will they do that? That I don't know either. But it is kind of a shame that you have, for example, Huawei, which looks like a great product, but they pretty much banned it in North America because it could be a security threat. Is it a security threat? I don't really know. A lot of people will probably say yes. I mean, China, we've never been at war with China, so I'm not sure why, they paint them as such a bad guy. I don't know.
Competition, I would imagine.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, for sure. Like, not a lot of practical evidence of how, evil they are towards you, right?
Exactly. I mean, they don't respect human rights to the same way that we do.
Yeah, different treatment of,
but you know what? There's a lot of countries that don't. You know what I mean? Like, here in North America, we give people a lot of rights. You know what I mean? Which is the way it should be. But there's a lot of countries, that don't.
That doesn't mean that they pose a threat, right? Necessarily.
Exactly. Yeah. So we are very, very different from each other. Do they pose a threat? I don't really know. I think the West, we are very cautious about them because in recent years they have, built up a big military that does pose a threat. So if there ever was a war, they are a much bigger threat than what Russia would be, and that's concerning. So, but I mean, should it be concerning? I don't know. Who's, the United States has, as a single country, has the most powerful military, but who's to say that China shouldn't have as big of a military if they want? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I imagine the majority of the Westerns understand it.
Yeah, we shouldn't be able to dictate what they do, or they should be able to do whatever they want. I mean, as long as it doesn't.
See, that's the main difference between the Western countries and Russia. Majority of Russians, including the government, they completely think differently. They think for the mere reason that somebody is gathering some sort of protection, whether it's army or even stable economy, that automatically implies that they have like some kind of supposition to get in the country. And that's exactly this kind of difference in mindsets, almost like, differences in thinking between the worlds, because it feels like different worlds, really.
Yeah, for sure.